Hello YouTube and welcome to the 13th lesson of After Effects tutorial series. Today we're going to look at the 3D camera settings inside of After Effects so that you can control the blur amount and everything else. So now today I'm going to make a new composition and I'm going to set up 3D layers just like before. So I'm going to use a square and a circle this time. Okay, so let me just go onto full, okay, and then create a new maybe another shape layer, and then create another shape over here. So let me use star for now. Okay, so now let me just turn both of them into 3D and then put the star right beside the layer. Okay, so let me just duplicate the layer. Let me just duplicate this. Let me move this to the side, a bit to the side. Alright, a bit to the side. Let me see the views. Let me see the 4 views. I can also just go for the 2 views if I want this, but I'm just going to select 4 views. Let me keep in front of the other camera. So let me just select this, put it over here, select this, put it over here, and then move this across. So now you can see that I have nothing else. If I were to add in lights and everything else, then you can see the effect over here. So let me just add in a light as well. So new light. It's okay. So you got the light. And since my light is yellow, you can see the effect right there. So now let me just pull out the light. Let me just pull it a bit far away. Alright, that's about it. Let me just adjust the light a bit more. Increase the intensity a bit. Maybe cone feather, fall off distance, increase that a bit so that I can light up the other areas as well. Okay, so cast shadows is on, so I need to accept the shadows on this layer right here because it's behind. So let me accept the shadows. Accept shadows is on, so I need to cast the shadows from this one actually. So let me just cast the shadow. Let me select this one, not this one, this layer. Let me just cast the shadows, material option, cast shadows on, and then this one right here, cast shadows on. So, and this one also cast shadows on. Alright, so there you go. So now I want to adjust the shadows a bit, so let me just increase the shadow diffusion a bit so that the shadows are a bit more soft. Let me go towards the, okay, that's about it. Now that looks more realistic. Okay, so now, anyway, so now I got the shadows and everything else. Now it's time to work with the camera. So now for the camera, let me just go on to the 2 view section. So let me just go to two views horizontal. So I can actually see just 2 views as well instead of 4, so that it also saves me some processing power. Now I need to work around with the camera, and with the camera I'm going to, let's say, focus on this one, and so forth. So I'm going to right click on new, click on camera. So now this camera actually works as a real camera. So you can choose the type of camera, that is 1 node or 2 node. We're not digging in deeper onto that part right now. So now you can rename the camera if you want and choose the type of lens. So if you want a wider lens, you can choose 15 mm, and if you want a zoomed in lens, you can choose the 200 mm as well. So let me just go for a wider 35 mm lens, which is the standard lens for shooting most of the films. So you can also choose the film size. As you can see over here, 36 is the ideal film size for regular cinematographies. So you can also enable depth of field to get that blurry effect. So let me just keep that on, and you can choose the aperture, f-stop, and blur level as you can with the other cameras, with the other real life cameras I mean. So I can just press OK, and you can see that the camera takes place in effect. So you can see that now it actually changes over to the view over this camera. So on the top view you can see that I actually have my camera. I can move the camera in, okay, or move the camera out. So you can see how this actually looks like. You see the point over here, this is the focus point. So let's say I want the focus on this star right here, then the focus is on that point. And now I can rotate the camera. So let me just go over to the camera. I can go over to orbit camera tool, and you can see that it orbits around that star right over there. So now if I were to change the focus point onto the other star, so let me just select this one. Okay, so now it actually just focuses on this spot. So now I can just move this around, and you can see now the focus point is around that star right there. So you can actually add in keyframes to it and then make some camera animations. So what I want right now is I want, let's say, the second star to be in focus, and I want this to be not in focus. So let me just change in the focus point again. So let me just select this, the focus point, drag into this star right over here, and let me just zoom it in a bit, zoom it in. Alright, focus on this part right here, this part. Change the angle a bit, just like that. Okay, so now you can see that everything is in focus right now. So I'm going to change that to third so that it renders a bit more faster. Okay, so I want the background and this to not be in focus. I just want this to be in focus. So I'm going to go inside, and you can see that inside of camera options, you can see that the depth of field is on. So I can increase and decrease the size of aperture. So if you're familiar with photography, then you might be familiar with this. That the aperture value here is not the same as the ones in your camera. So larger pixels actually means that it is more blur. So now you can see that my focus is actually on the background and not on this one. So you can see that as I increase the size of the aperture, the object near to me is actually more blur, and the further apart it is actually quite sharp. So you can actually see that this is the focus range right here, which is quite farther than the plane. I want the focus point to be here, not here. So now to change the focus point, you can see that there's something called focus distance over here. So I can simply drag that in, and you can see that once I drag that in, the little square box just simply moves inside. So this area is actually in focus. So I can drag this further in, and you can see that the wall is quite focused now. And I can drag this down a bit and make sure that it is on this star right here. And as I do that, you can actually see that the focus is on this point right now. And I can increase the aperture size, and you can see that I can make it more blur according to my wish. So now if I were to move this along, you can actually see that there's the blur effect, and once I move this further, it actually has a very, very cool effect, just like I would have in a real camera, which I really prefer. I guess for my test, the shadow is really, really dark, so let me just change that to for my visual pleasing. Alright, shadow diffusion is okay, not too much. And shadow darkness, maybe I want it a bit more lighter, just like that. Okay, I guess that's about it. So now you can actually see that I can add in animation according to what I want. So now I can simply add in an animation. Let me just change it into fast draft. And in fast draft, you can actually see that it doesn't show the blurriness, because that takes a lot of processing power. So in order to see all the blurry effect, you need to actually change this. So I'm going to go over to fast draft so that I can easily animate this. So let's say I want to animate this. So let me go over to camera and see inside of transform. Let me just move this around, and you can see that the position actually changes. So let me just go over to this point, add in keyframe to the position. Let me go over to this point. Let's say I want a 2-second animation. So let me just script that in. Okay, so 2 seconds of animation, just like this, and you can see that there is the keyframe right there. So I want to, let's say, change this out as well. Let's say I want to zoom this in and out as well. So maybe I could have done that a bit before, but anyways, I'm going to use the zoom in tool, not the transform tool for that. So there's the zoom. So you can see I can zoom it in, and zoom out. So let me just add in a keyframe over there. Let me zoom out. Now this is just like zooming out from the camera. So I can zoom out, So there's the zoom in, and here, right about here, I want the zoom out again. Okay, out, zoom out. Okay, so now I got this kind of an effect, which can be quite useful with logos and everything else. So I want the star to rotate and stuff, so let me turn that to final quality again. Let me just select the star. Now let me just go back to draft mode again, because I will still need to add in some animations. So fast draft. Okay, I just need this section right here, so I'm going to trim it down into this area right here, right click, and trim contour area. Okay, so now this is it. Now select all the keyframes, of course, and then add in an A's in. So right click, keyframe assistant A's in, and then again in this one, transform, select all of these, right click, keyframe assistance, and A's in. Alright, so now I got the animation ready. I just need the stars rotating. Let me say this one rotate to the other side, and the other one rotate to the other side. So rotation, let me just drag it down, transform, rotation. Okay, so let me see if, no, not this one. Let me go for this one. No, not this one. Okay, Z rotation, that's it. So rotation, over to this side, rotation. Okay, and this one I might have changed. It would have been better if I would have changed the pivot point, but anyways, it still looks good. So I'm going to go over here and go to the Z axis. We go over to the Z axis. Alright, add in, so it's more over to the right side, so I want this to be on the left side. So I'm going to go over to Z rotation, and then on the left side of it, okay, just like that. Okay, there you go. So now I got rotating stars right over there. Let's say I want to change the focus in between the animation as well. So I'm going to go over to the final draft mode now, because I need to see the change in animation as well. So I got my star focus over here. Let's say in the first section it is over here. Maybe I need to focus this a bit, so you can see that it is not quite in focus yet. So I'm going to go over to camera. Let me go to the beginning. Depth of field is on. Okay, focus distance. Let me change this a bit, and keep your eye on this section as well, because that is where the you get some idea regarding it. So that's not in focus. I can zoom it in a bit to get more idea on it. Okay, so that's quite it. Alright, so the star is in focus. If you want to decrease the aperture, you can do so as well, so that more area is actually in focus. Okay, more area is in focus. Aperture and focus distance is over there. So now this is rotating, and in this section I guess the focus is quite still there. Okay, let me just move that around over here to this point. Okay, aperture, you can increase it a bit so that it's more of a blur, and you can see how that looks right now. Looks quite awesome in my taste. So now at this section, let's say at around till this section, I still want the focus on the back star. So let me change the focus distance again. And right about from here, I want the focus to shift on this star, the star in front. So I'm going to change the focus and put it over here. I already have the keyframe, so you can see the background starts getting blurred and so forth. Let me put this over here, the focus distance. Let me change the focus distance right about here, so the star is in focus. And then focus distance again over here. So now I actually have this. Alright, so now I can also increase the aperture size if I want to, or decrease the size if I want to. So this is how it looks like. So let me go to the first view. Alright, so let me do a quick fast render right here, so that I do not have to wait and export it out. So now this is what I got. Let me go for third view so that this is much more clearer. And then let me enable the motion blur. That makes the things more interesting, and let's play it around. So let me see how that looks. Might take a while to render, but it is okay. And you can see that it is quite smooth. It looks quite smooth. Okay, so the motion blur is, let's say, too much for me. So let me just introduce that to you as well. I can right click, go to composition settings. In the advanced tab, you can see that there's a sample frame rate and shutter phase, which is minus 360 right now, and shutter angle. If I were to decrease this a bit, you can see that the motion blur actually decreases as well. So I can decrease this. Let me decrease that out. Okay, let's make it around 60 and decrease the shutter angle as well. Let's press OK. And you can see that the motion blur actually decreases when I do that. So if I were to decrease the values over here, you can actually see the decrease. And if I want to increase the render speed, I can also decrease the samples per frame. Do know that if I make it too small, it'll be choppy kind of things, because like you can just see two samples being there. So I do not want that. At least want maybe around 30 to 40, because that's when things start getting smooth. So you can see that it is more smooth like that. So let me just make it 32. Alright, okay, 32. So now it is quite smooth. So let me just render that out. You can see that there's a motion blur as well, and there's the focus on the first star. Second star gets blurred out, and once the camera shifts a bit, the focus is on the second star. Okay, you can see that it is rendering quite beautifully, and look, it looks quite professional. I did not use any other graphics or anything else. So you can do this with logos and everything else. You can see. So it's rendering out. Okay, this is just a preview render actually. Okay, so you can see now the focus is on the other star right there, and the background is totally blurred, and the result is actually very beautiful. So you can do this with any number of shapes. You can shift the focus and everything else. So now you can actually see that this is the result. It looks quite smooth, very, very good. Looks very, very professional. So this is the actual power of After Effects, and we are just getting to the start of the advanced After Effects in this lesson, and we'll cover up some more in the upcoming lessons. So thank you very much. Do be sure to comment, share, like, and subscribe.